Okay, phase 3. It's the part of the game that you're gonna be basically mastering the planet or mastering your knowledge about the planet. And where we will exploit its resources to for our own gains as well as the game's desires for some reason. Very well. So first achievement, Auto Diagnostic 3. Restore the Starship's main engine. The part that you need to fix is the waveform engine. This is the thing that's going to let you get off the planet as well as accelerate while in space. To fix this, you need one magnetic resonator and three crystal sulfides. The sulfides is quite easy to find if I'm being honest. If you manage to uh, if you manage to land near a body of water, and a deep one at that, you can easily find them in vents. You're gonna find like these oval-shaped vents that have like air bubbles spewing out from one end, and encrusted on the sides are the crystal sulfides. And so you go up to them and you collect them. Though you should be fast, because if you're not fast enough, you're gonna be hit with tons of heat damage. Yeah, it's a thing. So you get the crystal sulfide that way. Now the magnetic resonator is a similar kind of problem to the launch system in the quantum computer. So to obtain it, if you don't want to try your luck at the vendors or looting, is with the next achievement, geologist. So geologist, bonus, and the complete fauna are all achievements that you need to get by analyzing stuff. The first, you need to analyze 18 minerals. There are 18 minerals in this planet. The second is 12 plants and all types of creatures, which I believe is 11 or 12. I know that two of them are flying creatures, so keep your eyes on the sky if you can. So specifically with the first one, I can understand that that would be kind of hard to try to find 18 different types of rocks, but there it is. Analyze every nook and cranny that you can, any rock formations, mostly on the water. If you can go to any body of water, you should find these easily. And when you get it, you get the plans to make magnetic resonators as well as industrial extraction. The industrial extraction part is the extractor itself as well as piping. This will be required for one of these steps here at a distance, and they'll be easy enough to find if anything. So you complete this and you get the waveform recycler plans, one of the upgrades for your scanner, as well as an upgrade for the scanner itself as well, which is quite nice. Next one, complete fauna. Find all the creatures. Same deal, but you have to analyze creatures. When you complete this, you get 15 salvage data as well as 25 creature pellets, which you should be using to take care of the pet that you got on the previous milestone, right? You didn't get rid of your pet, did you? You wouldn't be this heartless to get rid of the pet right after you got your freaking milestone, right? You heartless person. Just kidding, just kidding. Anyway, next achievement. The navigator chart 4 waypoints. Now this one can be a bit tricky if you don't have too many ways of movement, but trust me, if you when you already spawn, you might spawn near a waypoint anyway, so you get one out of the way, and the other 3 you can easily find if you use the Minotaur scanner as well as your signal booster, or at least the signal booster if you don't have the Minotaur yet. I don't know why you wouldn't have the Minotaur at this point, but who am I to judge? Anyway, you get this, and you get 10 navigation data, 4 planetary charts, and 6 factory override units. Next one, herbicide. Eliminate 20 hazardous flora. This one's kind of easy. You just have to go around. Well, you might get this one by accident, because if you're using the Minotaur to mine stuff around, mostly carbon, you might by accident kill some of these hazardous flora. Mostly because there are these guys within the plants. So, kill 2 birds with a stone, something like that. When you get this one, you get the multi-tool combat enhancement plans, which are the plans for the pulse splitter as well as the combat scope, and a powerful defensive system upgrade, so a shield upgrade, which is quite fun. Now this one, this bitch here, this little bitch here got me so much trouble and made me stay on this planet for over 8 hours because I was dumb. I will admit, I was dumb while doing this freaking achievement. I'm going to do a cut here to explain a bit about about what happened and why I was dumb at that time. So here I did a bit of a mock-up to symbolize how it happened. So here we have a base computer about 300 units away from me, and the electromagnetic generator. That generator specifically is generating 147 to 48 kps. And I started to run some cabling, as you can see, from it up until here. When it got to this point here, I couldn't place any more. And it is because there is a certain limit to how much to open, there's a area limits that you can build stuff. When you place the computer down, it creates a sphere around it with a radius of 300 units. Within the radius of 300 units, going left, right, front and back, up and down, you can build whatever you want. Even modify the ground whichever way you want. But but after that point, you cannot place anymore. To expand in a certain way, how long you reach it, the reach of your settlement, and then do that by building stuff. In this case, what most players do, you get a piece of construction, well, any piece that you have like a ton of resources of, like, for most players it could be like map, a construction piece like a wall or a floor. If you have these stone stuff, you can use it, if you have the alloy stuff too, but most people just use something that they have a lot of. In this case, I use these timber half arcs because first I'm a creative, so, I don't have to worry too much about resources, but mostly because I wanted to mark these as power poles. So what you would do is to get one of these pieces and then start building them in regular intervals. When you do this, you're basically telling your base computer that you're expanding the reach of your base by building. In the case of the power poles, I had to run them within certain intervals to, make sure that I could place the cables nicely. And around that area over there, it's not rendering right now, but I placed some stuff there. I couldn't expand anymore because there is a certain limit to how much you can expand your base. In this case, when you're building forwards, you're basically just building a line. And this line is dictated by where you place these foundations, or in this case, these wall pieces. So if I went too far to the left or to the right, I wouldn't be able to build anymore. So keep that in mind, not only when you're setting up your base, because, well, some people would like to expand, I understand that, but mostly when you're setting up your factory in any of your planets. That whatever you're going to do to make sure that if you're going to invest on power generation, electromagnetic power generation, that both the electromagnetic hotspot and the deep mining hotspot are within 1,000 units of each other. If this doesn't happen, then you're gonna run into some problems. But that is if you want to invest on electromagnetic generation, which is constant and will never run out. Not a win-lose situation, not like once that you using magnetic generators is better than using batteries. You can totally do work if you place enough batteries and solar panels. So yeah, don't do what I did, okay? So some of y'all could be asking themselves, then how the heck am I supposed to do this? I mean, it's a factory. I never set up a factory before. Well, lucky for you, I have also a bit for that. So I'm gonna cut a second time to explain you guys how you would set up your factories to satisfy this achievement, okay? So I made here a few builds that will satisfy the requirements of the milestone, that is to mine 1,000 units of industrial equipment. And well, these setups will do the work, but they will take different amounts of time. And they will require that you babysit them a little because you need to empty their hoppers. The first build takes 4 miners, 4 batteries, and 8 solar panels. The second build takes 2 miners, 4 batteries, and 4 solar panels. And the third build takes only 1 miner, 2 batteries, and 4 solar panels. Now, you should keep a few things in mind while setting these up. Whenever you put one of these miners, make sure that you put 1 battery and 2 solar panels per miner. It's made this way because each of these miners takes 50 units of energy, and each of the solar panels produces 50 units of energy while the sun is out. So with a setup like this, not only you will be supplying enough power for all of them to work, but also any excess power will be stored in the batteries and they will continue to work throughout the night. And hopefully with a setup like this, you won't be running out of power during the night. That was one of my mistakes in my builds. I didn't put enough solar panels and I was constantly running out of energy, which means that it was taking even more time to go through the mining. One thing that you should keep in mind is that if you run out of power, you're not gonna reset. One of the things that was kind of scared is that if they came back to power, that they would restart the cycle. But no, it doesn't seem to be the case. So they would take 2 hours. Each one would take 2 hours to complete a cycle, and no matter how many times the energy goes out, when it comes back, it will pick up from where it left off. The way that it's set up like this with the supply cables, the silver cables right here, when you interact with one of them, you will be able to collect all of the items in as a singular unit, as opposed to collect each of them individually. Though, if you have researched the supply depots with your salvage data, you can connect all of them to the supply depot, and not only you're gonna get 1,000 units extra storage, you will reach the same effects as this thing that I made here. Now on this setup, this first one, you only have to collect once, since the total network of these 4 will be the required amount. The other 2, you're gonna have to babysit them a little. So in this one, you're gonna have to collect 2 times, because if their hoppers stay full, they will not work until they're empty. And it's even more the case if you just go with 1 miner, if you only find just enough to make 1 miner. You're gonna have to invest on a supply depot, or otherwise you're gonna have to babysit this. You will have to babysit this machine a ton, or at least buy the supply depot and connect to it, to evade having to babysit this. But of course, this is a last-ditch effort kind of build. Like you barely mined at all, or you didn't search too much because you were dying constantly to the environment. So it's understandable if you want to make something like this, but it will get the work done. It'll just take more time than you need to. So to recap, you make this one if you don't have too many resources, and ideally, if you still want to keep using this one, invest on the supply depot and you won't have to worry as much. The other 2 will be a bit more ideal. The second one is just normal. You're gonna get it done normally, and the supply depot isn't gonna be too required, but it's going to help. And the ideal setup won't require the depot at all, and you will be able to collect the exact amount in one go, no problem. Though you will spend a lot of resources if you make this one. It's up to you, whichever setup you want to go with. This is Creative Cut number 1 regarding the Industrialist milestone. So, I made here a few builds that will satisfy the requirements of the milestone, that is to mine 1,000 units of industrial equipment. And well, these setups will do the work, but they will take different amounts of time. And they will require that you babysit them a little because you need to empty their hoppers. The first build takes 4 miners, 4 batteries, and 8 solar panels. The second build takes 2 miners, 4 batteries, and 4 solar panels. And the third build takes only 1 miner, 2 batteries, and 4 solar panels. Now, you should keep a few things in mind while setting these up. Whenever you put one of these miners, make sure that you put 1 battery and 2 solar panels per miner. It's made this way because each of these miners takes 50 units of energy, and each of the solar panels produces 50 units of energy while the sun is out. So with a setup like this, not only you will be supplying enough power for all of them to work, but also any excess power will be stored in the batteries and they will continue to work throughout the night. And hopefully with a setup like this, you won't be running out of power during the night. That was one of my mistakes in my builds. I didn't put enough solar panels and I was constantly running out of energy, which means that it was taking even more time to go through the mining. One thing that you should keep in mind is that if you run out of power, you're not gonna reset. One of the things that was kind of scared is that if they came back to power, that they would restart the cycle. But no, it doesn't seem to be the case. So they would take 2 hours. Each one would take 2 hours to complete a cycle, and no matter how many times the energy goes out, when it comes back, it will pick up from where it left off. The way that it's set up like this with the supply cables, the silver cables right here, when you interact with one of them, you will be able to collect all of the items in as a singular unit, as opposed to collect each of them individually. Though, if you have researched the supply depots with your salvage data, you can connect all of them to the supply depot, and not only you're gonna get 1,000 units extra storage, you will reach the same effects as this thing that I made here. Now on this setup, this first one, you only have to collect once, since the total network of these 4 will be the required amount. The other 2, you're gonna have to babysit them a little. So in this one, you're gonna have to collect 2 times, because if their hoppers stay full, they will not work until they're empty. And it's even more the case if you just go with 1 miner, if you only find just enough to make 1 miner. You're gonna have to invest on a supply depot, or otherwise you're gonna have to babysit this machine a ton, or at least buy the supply depot and connect to it, to evade having to babysit this. But of course, this is a last-ditch effort kind of build, like you barely mined at all, or you didn't search too much because you were dying constantly to the environment. So it's understandable if you want to make something like this, but it will get the work done. It will just take more time. So to recap, you make this one if you don't have too many resources, and ideally, if you still want to keep using this one, invest on the supply depot and you won't have to worry as much. The other 2 will be a bit more ideal. The second one is just normal. You're gonna get it done normally, and the supply depot isn't gonna be too required, but it's going to help. And the ideal setup won't require the depot at all, and you will be able to collect the exact amount in one go, no problem. Though you will spend a lot of resources if you make this one. It's up to you, whichever setup you want to go with. There's no best setup here. All of them will do the same, it's just that some will do faster than others. Keep that in mind when you're building these setups, okay? So, with that in mind, make sure to pause the video if you want to analyze well which parts you need. And depending on the amount of resources you have, one of them should fit you. I have a kind of setup here. And yes, I did follow some of the some of my own advice, and I managed to find not only this thing here, which is a source of ammonia, but also a magnetic generator, which is in the other side of this mountain, where that computer is. So yeah, I managed to extend the power pole all the way here and power this beautiful thing here. It gives me about 1,000 ammonia every 2 hours, and it's already half full, which is really nice. Now I won't have to worry about any ammonia anymore, at least to stay protected in the rain. Okay, back to the achievements. So if you completed everything, next phase, phase 4. Now this one, you're gonna be exploiting mostly the landscape of the planet, as well as expanding your horizons to some of its secrets. So, first achievement, Auto Diagnostic 4. You have to repair the Starship's life support. The life support is the pressurization chamber, in the pressurization capsule. To fix this, you need 63 condensed carbon and 2 Herox. Now, the carbon is quite easy to find. You just get carbon and you condense it. Pretty easy. Now, for the Herox, it's a bit of a doozy, because Herox isn't an easy thing to find in the nature. Sort of. There are many ways to obtain Herox in, well, this case specifically. The first way that I got, and that I got lucky with, was using this cute little curiosity here called the glowing mineral. You get these glowing minerals from floating rocks, which is a kind of rare crop that can spawn in the world, and it is, I should say, one of the things that Sentinels will hunt your ass for. So be careful if you want to mine for these. If you find a big crop of them, make sure that it's clean, that there is no Sentinels around, and then you start mining. They are kind of hard to mine. They take a bit of time, even if you, even more the case if you don't have an upgraded multi-tool, an upgraded mining laser. But if you're using the upgrades up until this point, you should have no trouble getting them. So you get them and you read it and you analyze them. There is a chance when you analyze them to get all of the alloys. So Herox, iridium geodesite, granite, dirty bronze, aronium. You can get storm crystals. You can get tritium hyperclusters. And I think that's it. You can get basically any type of crystal. Oh, and crystal sulfite. You can also get crystal sulfites with these. So if you find a particularly big amount of floating rocks floating around close together, you can mine them and try your luck. Except, besides that, the other ways to obtain it would be to craft it. There are some people that rush technology to get the large refinery and craft it that way. I don't have the recipe with me right now, but as soon as I get it, I'll post it on the comment. I'll post it on the description of the video if anyone's interested. And besides crafting and finding using golden rocks, you can trade for it. It's one of those things that you can find easily on a trader. And if you build and in this case, if you build the Galactic Trade Terminal, it should be easy enough to find it. So you get your Herox whichever way it's easy for you. You put in a pressurization capsule with a condensed carbon, beam bang bong, the freaking thing is fixed. And for it, you get 999 nanites. Very well, next achievement, Spaceport Alpha. Visit a planetary outpost. Now, you achieve this one by either finding a minor settlement or a trader port. And you have to get there. The easiest way in this case to get there would be to use your exocraft, in this case the Minotaur, upgraded with the sonar array. No, not the sun, with the radar array. You use it find the trader port, and the reward for it is the alloy crafting blueprints, as well as the plans for the geobase of the Pilgrim, one of the other exocrafts that you're going to be using along this game. Now, at this point, I think I should clarify a bit about the exocrafts. So I'm going to do a third cut here and explain you guys how I set up the exocrafts. Alright, let's talk exocrafts. So you kind of unlock them in order. And well, this this is not going to be how you should do such thing or how you should set up your stuff. I'm going to show how I set up my exocrafts. Hopefully, the way that you can use that as a template to how you can set up your own to kind of help you on your journey. So the first one you unlock by completing the Master of the Elements achievement is the Minotaur, and for the most part of the expedition, it's the exocraft you're gonna be using the most, mostly as a movement and utility tool. The way I set up the exocraft itself is it's only three extra parts besides the one that already come with the exocraft, which is the Icarus fuel system. It's totally optional if you want to install this one, mostly because in this plan specifically, there is a very bountiful amount of storm crystals. So installing something that will recharge your suit every time it's daytime, no, whenever it's daytime, is really recommended to save on resources. Another thing that could be useful for you to use is the Minotaur laser, mostly because the Minotaur laser itself is way more efficient at mining minerals and plants than your multi-tool is. The only problem is that while you are within the expedition, you cannot install the Precision Minotaur laser, which basically is the advanced mining laser that you get for the multi-tool. So there are going to be a few rocks within the planet that you won't be able to mine with the Minotaur laser. But even if that's the case, when you're mining around with the Minotaur, you're mostly gonna be mining both. It's not gonna be mining all the types of rocks. But still, if anything, is just a bit of a deal breaker, not gonna be much. And the other reason that you're gonna be using the Minotaur besides the mining is going to be movement. Due to the fact that it can, do these giant ass Hulk jumps, that will help you go through gaps and holes, and even underwater. Yes, I tested it. I compared it against the other exocrafts. The Minotaur is actually more efficient at going through every kind of terrain than even the freaking Ocelot. Yeah, I went several times underwater with the Minotaur, and it was way faster when it comes to navigating the water. Trust me, don't invest in the Nautilon, go get yourself a Minotaur, you're not gonna regret it. So, like I said, the Minotaur is going to be your movement tool and your mining tool for most of the adventure if you decide to invest on it. And the upgrades that you get for it are going to help you tons. Now, as soon as you complete the second achievement to visit the trader port, you get yourself the Pilgrim, which I consider to be mostly just a movement / scouting tool. The Pilgrim itself excels mostly at areas that, well, have a lot of large open fields and even some mountains. With its boost, you can easily overcome any kind of mountain, almost vertical even. And the way I set up the Pilgrim is mostly as a scouting vehicle. So again, the Icarus fuel system, if you want to have a recharger, is totally optional. You don't need to make it. It can very well hold itself together with just normal engine. The air filtration unit, you should keep in mind that the Minotaur, as much as it is useful for movement and all that stuff, you still would need to recharge your hazard protection unit with ammonia, since the place is all toxic and all that. With this upgrade, as long as you are inside the Pilgrim, you won't have to get out, either if it's raining or even in normal flight. And the other option that you're going to be using the Pilgrim mostly is because of these three heaters, the signal boosters. Now, the Minotaur also takes a signal booster upgrade as well. But the thing is, when you use the signal booster, it has very limited options. You can either find a resource depot a secure facility, a distress signal, or a planetary outpost. And you're probably going to be using the last one to get the plans for the Pilgrim. But when you get the Pilgrim and you install all of the three upgrades, which are considerably cheap if we're talking about stuff that you can acquire on the planet, you also get access to way more options. Mostly, what you're going to be using is for abandoned structures, since one of the pieces that you need to fix the ship and one of the final parts is larval cores. And well, because of that, the Pilgrim will be more useful that way. Now, like I said, this isn't a guide saying that, oh, you should use the Minotaur more, or, oh, you should use the Pilgrim more. No, no. Each of them will excel in their own parts whenever, no matter the situation. Though they will be useful mostly at certain parts of the game. The Minotaur for mining and getting through harsh terrain and, well, uneven terrain. And the Pilgrim for moving fast and quick through flat areas as well as scouting. You should also keep in mind that the last thing that you receive as a reward is the summoning station. So as long as this bad boy is within the planet, you can summon any of your exocrafts to your aid using the summon command. Though just because this here exists, it does not mean that you'll be able to customize your exocrafts. So if you still have the bases, you can customize them if you want. Though of course it's just a cosmetic thing, and it's totally optional if you want to keep it. Though that's something you should keep in mind. So to recap, Minotaur, Mining Tool, and Movement Tool. Pilgrim, Movement Tool, and a Scouting Tool. Okay? So, this is specifically the way that I use my exocrafts. You guys are always free to try different things with them. Just as a bit of a note, you can before you had access during the event, you cannot exit. You can install any gun. You can install both the laser and the gun in the Minotaur if you want. But I really would strongly suggest for you to only install the laser and just jump around to get away from these freaking things, sentinels. During the event, you cannot install any guns on the Pilgrim. So yeah, the Pilgrim is only going to be used mostly for scouting, and the Minotaur for mostly anything else. After this one, you have Network Online. Establish a portal network. This one is also easy. You just have to place a second teleporter in another location that connects with the first teleporter that you will spawn at phase 2. When you get this one, you are rewarded with the Exocraft Summoning Station plans, or the Exocraft Summoning Station that allows you to summon any Exocraft in that world specifically as long as that thing is there. As well as localized teleportation blueprints, which is the plans for the short-range teleporter as well as the teleporter cable. Next one, cross-country. Travel 15,000 units by exocraft. If you're using your exocrafts mostly by mining and going around, you should eventually get this one. Mostly, I think you're gonna get this one while using the Minotaur, if you're using it a lot before you get the Pilgrim, but who knows, maybe you get with the Pilgrim as well. And when you finish this one, you get a Supreme Exocraft boost upgrade as well as an engine upgrade. Note that these upgrades are only applied for the Pilgrim. I tried to install them on the Minotaur, it did not work unfortunately. Which is a good thing, because the Pilgrim is a really awesome exocraft to drive around. Okay, next achievement, Detectorist. Recover 5 lost objects. This one is easy. While using your analysis scanner, you're gonna have to scan for either not buried technology necessarily, but buried caches, buried minerals, or buried plant life. You dig them with your terrain manipulator, and you use the laser to redeem them. Except for the buried cache, just unearth them and interact with the box. You do this 5 times, you get the achievements, and with it you get 750k units, as well as plus 5 standing with the quarterbacks, I believe. It's standing with quarterbacks. Next one. The hills are alive. Climb the mountain over 625 units. Now, in this planet specifically, it could be an easy task to be accomplished because, well, you can't see it much right now, but trust me, there are tons of mountains that are really high. So if you manage to spawn near one of those mountains and you have one of the exocrats, you're more than welcome to try to climb them. I recommend that you use the pilgrim to climb them because it's the most stable. If you're gonna use you can use the Minotaur if you want as well, but you're gonna be jumping a ton, like very inefficient jumps flying. So you jump to the highest point of a high mountain that you find. You get it. You get the achievements, and with it you get the plan for the rocket boots, which gives you a special jump, which is quite nice. Now this thing here. This thing specifically is gonna be a headache for a lot of players. Mostly because as much as there are tall mountains in this game, there isn't a mountain tall enough to either make you boost up for 30 seconds or to fall down for 30 seconds. And trust me, when you're falling down 30 seconds is a long time. But there is technically a bit of an exploit that you can do to bypass this challenge. Now, is it scummy? It is. It's exploiting something that's within the game to help players not get stuck on things. Well, of course, Papa Bongo is gonna teach you this right now because he knows that you're gonna need it. So, what you're gonna do? You pull out your building plans and you start building. You're gonna need to build one floor. You grab a wall, you build a structure 2 walls high, and you get a roof. It can either be a roof or a floor panel, whichever you prefer. Make sure that it's all in one unit, just like so. Now what you do, you go up to this unit, as close to the wall as you can, and you just boost. Just like that. And you keep pressing boost until you get the achievement. It's kind of exploiting a bit of a mechanic that Sean Murray himself mentioned in an interview. I cannot actually demonstrate this with this mountain here. Basically, he understood that some players would have a bit of a difficulty trying to climb very tall mountains or climbing over pits that, well, couldn't be jetpacked normally. So he made jetpacking in a way that if you're jetpacking up a hill or up something in which are really, really, really close to the wall, like so, and you don't have the rocket boots attachment, it's kind of important that for this to work, you can't have the rocket boots attachment. But basically, you would be able to just climb over this wall all the way up without spending any fuel. Oh, and also there's a player. Hello. Okay, he just got out. Anyway, so and if you either use this exploit that I told you, or if you prefer to do it the normal way, you get the achievement, and with this you get 3 storm crystals and a movement speed up and a jetpack upgrade. Which is kind of ironic that you spend all this time trying to climb up over the mountain and jetpack for 30 seconds just to get a jetpack upgrade. Which would have helped with this. I'm just saying. It's kind of redundant. Anyway, next achievement. The Archaeologist. Collect 10 fossils. Luckily for us, this planet in specific is a planet that can spawn, if you can read the thing on the right, says that it spawns ancient bones. Isn't that interesting? So yeah, if you search hard enough, you're bound to find some ancient bones. So just unearth and dig 10 different boners, and you get yourself the achievement. And with it, you also get 3 planetary charts. Now, these planetary charts are a bit specific that they only point to ancient ruins. There's no other way to obtain charts like these. Even more because if you look at the icon, it doesn't have an icon. That's the point. It's different from the other charts because the others you could buy from a photographer. The charts that you get from this, you can't get anywhere. Just saying. And if you complete all of this, you complete phase 4. And as a reward, you get the saucer fungus, the cave creepers, the troglo tulip, the vein flat caps, and the fingery deposit plants. They're all just a bunch of plant-based decorations that you can put in your base if you want.